You guys for joining me. This is a presentation on how to be a scholarly person. What does it mean to be a scholarly person? As someone who's put the time, effort, and money into becoming educated and really bettering themselves. This presentation is a sum up of all the assignments we've worked on in CE 300. Who is a scholarly person? The person I chose was Professor Tom Greer. He's a mass comm professor here at Winona State. I chose him because of the path he took right out of high school. He went into radio and DJ'd for a while, eventually working his way up to becoming program director at KROC in Rochester. After that, he decided he wanted to make some money, so he became a public relations specialist. And after doing that for a while, he was still unhappy, and a colleague suggested he get into teaching. So he went back to school and became a professor, where he has remained a professor here at Winona State ever since then. And as he'll tell you, it's one of the best decisions he made. What does this have to do with me? The path I took through college is different from what I did, what normal college students would do. He didn't go, just like Greer, he didn't go straight from high school to college to a career and then retirement. He kind of went a different couple of ways for me. What's this have to do with me? Well, I relate to Professor Greer in what he's doing because much like him, he took a different path to getting to where he's at now. Obviously, from high school, he did a bunch of things he loved doing in radio, and then eventually ended up becoming a professor 20 years after high school. And for me, I can relate to that simply because, when out of high school, I wanted to become a teacher, did that for 3 years, and decided that, teaching was not something I actually wanted to get myself into. So I switched to mass communications, and then I switched again in order to graduate, but I'm still pursuing a career in radio. The first example from our book that really illustrates that path is it's called Bumped Off a Flight and Into a Career. It was a it was a story where currently a professor at University of California in Berkeley, he was in a career he was unhappy in, and he was going to take a vacation out of San Francisco, and his flight got canceled. So he got bumped off the plane, and he got a free flight to go anywhere in the U.S. And about a year later, he was still unhappy, and he quit his job and took that vacation, and he went to Boston. While he was in Boston, he went to Harvard University, where he talked to a professor there about a research project they're doing on immigration policy in California. And it was a lot of things that interested him, and so he decided to take this professor up on the job and started working at the University of California in Berkeley. And according to him, it was the best decision he's made. He's been there ever since. He's been happy with his job. The traits that I'd list as a scholarly person, you have to be educated. For me, I'm going to be finishing my bachelor's degree in individualized studies. In my opinion, having a degree is a symbol of the hard work you put into college, even though it took me longer than normal. My professional plan is to continue to pursue a career in radio. And with that, I plan to go back to school and finish my mass communications major so I can open up some doors for me later on. Social justices I may face in radio are things, it's come a long way. In the 50s, radio personalities were usually only, 50-year-old white men. But that's come a long way since then. There's radio stations that cater to specific religious needs, to specific ethnicities, and there's even all-women radio stations that talk about women problems. So those are things that I have to keep in mind in radio, and for anything changing in the future, any new changes that are going to come into radio, I'm going to have to keep my mind open to. And the effect that becoming educated had on myself, as far as financially it's a burden. I mean, all of you know you're going to be have a lot of college debt, especially for me switching so many times and being in school. I'm going to have more than normal school debt, as well as the mental strain. We all, as college students, you all know the tests and papers and research projects you have to do that that comes with being a college student. As well as family. When you get out of college, and it doesn't get any easier. You marry into someone who also has school debt. They inherit my school debt. It's going to put a strain on your family. That kind of ties into Erikson's theory. Erikson's theory is a personality theory of how someone's traits are passed on and formed from an infant age all through their life, and usually that starts with the parenting at a young age. For me, personally, I was lucky enough to have parents who taught me how to be self-sufficient and work out problems on my own. This helped me make some of those difficult decisions that were based on switching my major and putting those strains on not only myself but my family. The example to wrap everything up is a story called "At the Worst Moment of My Life," and it was a story about the author of the story went to Italy. He was unhappy with his career, and when he was in Italy, he contracted a disease, and he was in the hospital for a long time. There he met a Bosnian soldier who had fought in the Kosovo War and committed some atrocities during that war, and at the conclusion of the war, he decided to dedicate his life to helping, pay back kind of the sins he committed before. After extensive talks with this soldier, this author decided to change his life and change his career, change to something that meant something to him. So he actually joined the Red Cross and worked for the Red Cross extensively for many years to come. And he said it was a very great decision. The way I look at it, how I relate to that story, is it was a very difficult decision for me to change from education to mass communication. Initially, it was I knew the financial strain it was going to put not only on myself but on my parents and my family. But I think it was something that I had to do for my own happiness. I was unhappy going to school to become a professor or a teacher. So this concludes my presentation, and I thank you guys all for patiently listening. Thank you.